Very much, Congresswoman Woolsey, members, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to have the opportunity to pause for a moment and think, setting aside politics, military strategy, and tactics, about the real losers of this conflict and other conflicts, and that's children. In Iraq, the situation of children and families has become really quite dire. Child mortality has doubled since 1990 to 125 per 1,000 children dying before they reach the age of 5. Maternal mortality has tripled, which has serious consequences for children's survival, morbidity, and psychological and cognitive welfare. Education has plummeted. Officially, only 20% of children are out of school. However, that's the tip of the iceberg, because many, if not most, of the children who are enrolled are unable to go to school because of security considerations. And a recent study showed that since the invasion, wasting, which is chronic and serious malnutrition in children under 5, has doubled. That's in little more than 2 years. The rate of wasting among young children in Iraq is now higher than the rate of wasting in Haiti or Uganda. So these are really very significant indicators of a crisis in childhood, and as we'll hear in a few minutes, this surely has implications for our children at home as well. I'm going to speak just briefly on a topic that is less easy to quantify and less visible in the data, and that's the psychological effect and the implications for the future of Iraq of this kind of conflict on children. The sorts of uncertainty that our previous speakers described impact very directly on the lives of children. The increase in malnutrition is due to a lack of food, obviously, but it's also due to increased diarrhea and other illnesses, which are due in turn to the absence of water, clean water. Sewage now goes directly into the water source, and the absence of electricity and other fuels to boil water. And that's assuming that people know that they now need to boil water and know how long to boil it and how to keep utensils clean and so on to protect their children from this kind of very serious morbidity. The uncertainty from day to day, the orphaning around them, the depression and desperation in parents, the increases in neglect, domestic violence, and abuse that we see in any situation where poverty is rising, where adults feel out of control, where there are many displaced persons without community and without network, all have predictable consequences for children's psychological well-being in the moment, their ability to perform in school, their ability to learn, and their social embeddedness now and for the future. If schools were operating and it were safe for children to go to school, schools offer children routine, which is reassuring and gives them a chance to recover from whatever disruption they're experiencing. Schools offer the opportunity, especially if teachers are trained, to help children process trauma, for kids to play, to act out their grief, their fears, and alternative, more positive futures in play. That's how children process this kind of distress. They offer the opportunity for sports, and for older children this is critical. It builds social capital, which is the future for a country like Iraq. And obviously they offer the opportunity for the learning that is essential for these folks to create a future for Iraq and for the rest of us in this global world. If these kids can't get to school, what options will they have as adults? And finally, schools are settings in which children can learn what they need to know to cope with their current environment, learn about hygiene, learn about health, and learn about landmines, for example. I'm going to have to wrap up, but Save the Children is no longer operating in Iraq. We did eventually decide we had to withdraw, but we are undertaking a new initiative which we're calling Rewrite the Future for the 43 million children who are officially out of school, and certainly double that number who are unofficially out of school around the world due to conflict. And what we hope is that every humanitarian response, and I'm looking at the members of Congress here, every humanitarian response will include education. Typically humanitarian responses include food, shelter, water, and health care as a next step, and education is a distant future step, and yet that's where the future is. And without education, children don't learn conflict resolution, negotiation skills, and peace building for the future. So it needs to be part of our response. Thank you very much.
Thank you.